Today we have the pleasure and the honor to meet Dr. Bleich. He's a physician, anesthesiologist. He's also the founder of Pulson.
That's correct.
And it's a platform about performance.
Ask yourself the question, have you ever had the experience where you're running and you're biking or you're swimming or you're working really hard, and all at once you get into this rhythm where you feel like you're not working, like you could go forever.
You run or you ski or you bike and then you get in that moment.
Yes.
You can continue for hours.
But it's so elusive. Don't you wish you could have that every time, right?
Yeah. You will speak about this, but you have a tremendous background also. You're an entrepreneur, like you share with our student online.
Absolutely.
How you came to your company and what is your technology.
Generally speaking, when I speak to students, because I speak about entrepreneurship quite a bit, I generally talk about finding a problem that's really meaningful to you, where you really can put your heart into it, and you know that there is a sense of urgency about solving this problem. And that is how I founded my first company, Baxano, because I knew that there was a tremendous problem with these patients with severe back pain. Pulson doesn't fit the model that I usually teach. Yep. With Pulson, I actually was exposed by a very experienced entrepreneur to a company that he had started when he was very young. And he was a very experienced and very successful entrepreneur that had started many companies. And he started a company with a technology called external counterpulsation. So counterpulsation is a medical technology that basically treats heart patients with very severe heart disease. That's what it was developed for. And the idea is that the heart pumps blood to the body, and the first branches off of the aorta that the heart is pumping into are the coronary arteries. So you'd think that the heart is the first thing to get blood flow, but in fact, paradoxically, because the heart's contracting, those coronary arteries cannot perfuse the heart muscles because there's so much tension.
So they get
in
the fluid
heart
in the fluid in the diastole.
Yes, so they only get blood flow when the heart's relaxing and the pressure is very low, so they get very low pressure, very low flow into the coronary arteries, but adequate, obviously, for a healthy heart. Right? But as a heart becomes less and less healthy, those vessels can become clogged, and the pressure that the heart is able to generate can drop tremendously. And so,
interesting.
So there's a machine, yes. So there are different types of technologies that have been around for 60 years, 50 years in some cases. One of them is called an intra-aortic balloon pump that creates counterpulsation. So when the heart beats, it relaxes. As it relaxes, a balloon blows up to drive further blood into the coronary arteries. And it actually blows up in the aorta, and it drives blood not just into the coronary arteries, but it drives blood forward to the body. And then the balloon rapidly deflates before the heart pumps. And so the heart's pumping against less pressure because things were driven forward, but it just got better oxygen also. So there's this double pump system, this intra-aortic balloon
But you have to insert the balloon in the system, right?
You have to insert the balloon, yes. It's very invasive, but it is life-saving for somebody with crushing chest pain that's having an evolving heart attack, has to get to the operating room. They're getting everything ready. They're gonna die if you don't do something, or they're waiting for a heart transplant. If you have a way to get them back off of it, right, then surgeons will put them on this pump and save their life. The big challenge is this pump is so effective it will keep people alive, but nobody wants to live with a balloon blowing up in their aorta stuck in a bed. So there had better be a new heart waiting or a procedure that will get them off of it.
Yeah, temporary fix.
Yes, because it is just such a powerful technology. There are other technologies that use the same idea of a second mechanical pump driving blood to the heart when it's relaxing. One is that's been very popular. It's been around for I think since the 1950s it was first developed. It was modified in the 60s, and it's called external counterpulsation. So instead of intra-aortic balloon, this is a non-invasive procedure. And what this is these are cuffs.
Yeah, I heard about that. I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
You've heard about it before.
Yeah.
These are balloons, cuffs that basically are circumferentially around the limbs, lower extremities, sometimes the upper extremities, but usually lower extremities and even the core. And the patient will lie on a bed. When And this will be tied to the EKG. So the heart beats, and just like with the intra-aortic balloon pump, just as the heart relaxes enough that the valve snaps shut, the outflow valve, the aortic valve, this machine will squeeze the legs from distal to proximal very quickly, and the patient bumps off the bed, and the heart is perfused tremendously during this relaxation phase. And because it's squeezing the legs, venous blood is also driven back to the heart. So the heart fills, and the heart fills with venous blood, but is perfused with arterial blood at the same time. And that those cuffs are also pushing blood forward. So then when the heart just before it contracts the next time, these balloons relax, and the heart pumps against way less pressure because everything has been emptied. And then again, the balloons blow up and drive both venous return and perfusion of the heart. So these poor people with a heart that can barely function, now they're bouncing off the bed with this machine, which is very loud and requires one-to-one nursing care. So it takes a tremendous amount, and you have to have a cardiologist there. And they have to do it an hour a day, and they have to do it 5 days a week for a couple of months, really. But they've gotten tremendous benefits from it. It's almost like exercising the heart vigorously for somebody that can't exercise. And it's been shown to help with symptoms of congestive heart failure. It's been shown to help with symptoms of coronary artery disease like angina, and also lead to less morbidity, in other words, less heart attacks, but also less mortality, so lowering death rate. And this particular entrepreneur, getting back to this gentleman that told me about this technology, he told me what's so frustrating is that it was only cleared through FDA for patients that have failed coronary bypass grafts, that can't get a stent. Yes. So as a result, it's very hard to get to patients, and when I do get it to patients, if we can get it to patients, it's very expensive to provide, and insurance doesn't reimburse it adequately. Our patients love it so much, the results are so positive for us that many of them are willing to pay out of pocket to keep it going, but we just can't afford to keep the center open. So there's this wonderful concept. I mean, not only this, not only are we seeing these wonderful benefits for cardiac disease, but we're actually seeing benefits for dementias, even like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. Now, he says the data's, we're just starting to gather the data, but it looks like it's really helpful. And I'm sitting here thinking, wait a minute, there's a non-invasive technology that helps congestive heart failure, and he said the data was better than stents and bypass.
And good for Alzheimer.
Yeah, good for dementias, good for coronary artery disease, and it's non-invasive, and I've never heard of it, and it just sounded too good to be true. So I started to research the technology, because this was a wonderful, credible entrepreneur that was truly frustrated with the lack of ability to get this technology to patients. And I started thinking, how could we do this in the 21st century? Because this big, loud, jarring machine, maybe we could do something more elegant and simple. And started brainstorming and thinking about, pants or boots or shoe inserts, right? Things that we could do. But I also had been through FDA and been through the challenges of reimbursement. To take on that kind of risk for the next 10 years of my life, I just wasn't up for it. But I loved the insight. And so I just studied, I said, how could we do this that wasn't in such an expensive way? Is there any other way? And as soon as I decided I didn't want to do a medical technology because of all of the barriers, it dawned on me that, wait a minute, every time we take a step, we are actually
pumping the blood.
We are pumping the blood. We are squeezing these giant muscles, right?
Absolutely.
You don't need a set of balloons. You just need to take a step. And in fact, it's not just this leg that's pumping. When you're running or walking or on an elliptical against gravity, right? When you take a step, you're working against gravity, so you have to lift the other leg at the same time because we need to stay balanced. In fact, the core and upper extremity running, everything contracts, then everything relaxes. Then everything contracts, then everything relaxes. Now the heart is pumping to the periphery, right? The musculoskeletal system, on the other hand, is pumping to the heart, right? Let's just talk about the arterial side for a second.
I know a little bit where you're going now.
Yes. Well, right, exactly. The heart is pumping into the aorta. this other huge pump, and the musculoskeletal
So
system.
then you have to synchronize both movement, right?
You have to.
And create a sensor.
Or you have problems. Actually, not only is it inefficient, it's hard. And so you can imagine, the legs have just contracted. Now they're empty of blood and the heart contracts. Beautiful flow into an empty system, very little pressure. And now the legs contract. Now on the arterial side, since there's no valves, it drives blood not just forward, but it drives blood back towards the heart and perfuses the heart muscle, just like those machines did, right? And then the heart contracts, fills the leg muscle much more effectively. But on the venous side, you have the same thing. On the venous side, you're creating a preload. You're filling the atrium when the heart's most receptive. Yeah. So you're driving both arterial and venous blood just at the right time because the heart's receptive. Alternatively, if you're a few tens of milliseconds off and you happen to step at exactly the same time as your heart's contracting, now you get huge pressure because they're in the same tubing, systolic hypertension, the heart's pumping really hard and blood's not moving, right? And as a result, it's not emptying well.
You get short of breath faster, I guess.
Yes, exercising. So if you're working hard, you're not perfusing the heart muscle, and the heart's working harder. And since it's not emptying as effectively, it beats faster. So the heart beats against more pressure, it beats faster, and it's not getting blood flow. So it's much more stressed because beating faster is stressful. It's much more stressed because beating against afterload is stressful. So it's working way harder, but it's not getting blood flow. Now, I'm talking to a large audience here, so I probably can't tell you the anecdotal things we've seen in exercise stress testing, but it is not favorable. The heart does not like this. This is extraordinary flow. The heart's not working as hard. It's understandable that it unloads the heart. That's when somebody's having chest pain and you might need acutely.
And perfuse the brain at the same time.
And perfuse the brain at the same time. But why does it lead to long-term benefits? And this is the thinking behind that. When you create tremendous flow in the coronary arteries by creating high diastolic pressure, that's stretching the coronary arteries. The stretching, the turbulence, the shear forces of that blood flowing so aggressively through the coronary arteries, that not only stabilizes, has been shown to stabilize plaque that can lead to rupture and heart attacks and so forth, but it actually stretches them enough that the endothelial cells, which are like sense organs inside the coronary arteries, they say, we need more blood, we don't have enough capacity to handle this blood flow. So they secrete vascular endothelial growth factor, or VEGF, which is a promoter of new blood vessel formation. So new collaterals start to grow if you do this every day for an hour a day. If you go to counterpace.com and you go a little and you start to explore, and there's actually a button that says explore, there's wonderful data out there that shows not only will you read our own published paper that was just published in American College of Sports Medicine's top journal called Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise. We just did a study with elite athletes. We're also starting studies with sick patients, but we also have a bibliography of all kinds of wonderful studies that have been done over the decades that have shown some of these physiological phenomena. And about half of the studies, you can just click on them and it'll take you to the PDF of the article. So there's all of this health benefit from counterpulsation, medical counterpulsation. We hope to be able to prove that those same benefits are accrued from natural counterpulsation. So what's natural counterpulsation? Natural counterpulsation is stepping at a time that you're driving blood, both arterial and venous, to the heart when it's most receptive. It's the exact same phenomenon. And by the way, what about this? Well, now you've got the heart working really hard against huge pressure and not getting blood flow. We believe that may be responsible for the reason that people that run lots of miles, seem to be incurring damage in their heart. And I don't know if you're familiar with like the Boston Marathon study that was done years ago. Troponins, highly selective troponins, these are proteins only seen in heart muscle, and proteins that are leaked when heart muscle cells die are highly elevated, actually in the majority of people finishing the Boston Marathon in this study of 100 runners. So So we think that this is really bad and this is really good. Fortunately, when the pumps are in sync, have you ever been on a run where all at once it gets easy and you've been working hard and then all at once.
Yeah, this is what we say, getting in the zone.
Right, exactly. If you've ever been on
I've
that
done a
run,
lot of cross country in Canada and jogging, and it's like you reach like a rhythm where you're in the zone.
Yes, exactly. It feels like you could go forever. I mean, it just makes exercise easier. This is that experience of, why is it so hard today? I can't quite catch my breath. What? And you just want to quit. Well, if you really are doing this, maybe you should, because this is not a good thing. All of that tension and without the blood flow, without the perfusion, or at least you should do something different, right? Change what you're doing. So what we've created is a sensor-based guidance system. And it's a very simple sensor. We're sensing the cardiac cycle, and we're sensing the musculoskeletal cycle. So it's really two sensors built into one.
Right.
It's just a simple little module that can snap into a chest strap. Not only are they a very high sensor that are sampling constantly, but they are very tightly controlled on the same clock. Okay. And we want to know that you're pumping at exactly the right timing. It's a simple app that takes your heart sensor. You can use it on the treadmill, you could use it on elliptical, you could use it on the sort of paddle-based stair steppers, right? Anything where your core is moving up and down. When you start the app,
begin running or walking.
It tells you what to do. It shows you where your heart rate is, but it asks you to start moving. And what you'll see is that my step rate starts to show up. And you can see where my step rate is relative to my heart rate.
Lower than your step rate. Raise your heart rate to begin guidance.
Right? So that means I can run faster to get my heart rate up, or I can slow down my step rate and bring them closer together. Now you hear a little beep, 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 beep. That's like a sonar looking, but they're not close enough to prompt me yet, but now they are. So now it's prompting me. So now all I have to do is step to the beat and stay with it. All you need to do is focus, and then when you get there, the music comes on, and you hear a different beat, and you start accumulating zone time, as you called, in the zone. So now I'm stepping in diastole. I am really stepping right when that aortic valve snaps shut. I've got that, and this is when it just starts to feel easier, the breathing improves. Now some people prefer to exercise to real music. So we'll take your favorite music, and we also provide music. And if you just turn on the music, we change each beat. We look at each heartbeat and each step, and we manipulate where the beat is, and as long as you step with the beat, you will stay in diastole. And we pitch correct the voice, so we'll pick a song from your songs that's close, and then we'll manipulate every beat and pitch correct the voice. So that's all there is to it. It's just a simple little app.
Activity completed. Nice work.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
You achieved 1 minute, 41 seconds of zone time.
So there you go, 1 minute and 41 of counterpulsing without a machine. One of the things that we've done that we're really excited about is we don't just have this consumer app. We've created what we're equally excited about, which is a research app, where you use the same hardware, but it's for research institutions. And it allows you with a few button clicks to create a double-blinded, placebo-controlled study. So we have several active placebos. So people will get prompted. They don't know whether they're being prompted in diastole or they're being prompted off their heart rate altogether or at their normal step rate, for example. These are different types of placebos. And then we have graphing tools online to make it very easy for researchers to read the data and so forth. So we're trying to make it so that that we can find research partners out there, because there's so many potential ramifications of this increased oxygenation.
Absolutely.
We believe humans evolved to step at their heart rate in diastole. This is so much more efficient and so much more natural. And we have seen with elite athletes, when we did this study with USA Track and Field athletes that I referenced in our website, we did baselines, and this was not published, but half of these athletes locked into diastolic stepping at race paces. Like just naturally started stepping exactly at their heart rate and in diastole. Not this, but in diastole, for very clear long periods of time. This is about as non-invasive as it gets. It's exercise. Frankly, if we can just make exercise easier and more fun, that's a huge positive.
Absolutely.
And because there's no medicine better than exercise, right? If you could put it in a pill form, exercise, it would be the most expensive pill on the planet because of the huge benefits it provides. And so we're really just excited to make exercise more fun and easier. Another thing is, we showed in our research studies, is by driving more oxygen to the muscle, that the oxygen consumption went up and the fat burning relative to sugar burning, so fat versus glycogen, the muscle appeared to be burning fat as a substrate more than burning glycogen. Well, you don't have very much sugar in your muscle. So when you do this, if you're burning more sugar, that means you're heading towards the wall, if you will. You're losing the kick at the end of a race, but you're also losing that energy that lets you keep going.
Exactly.
Well, it's well understood that sedentary individuals, people that are trying to exercise but can't, have very low glycogen reserves. So therefore, they hit the wall very quickly. If we can help them preserve the glycogen by keeping them burning fat more effectively, that's endurance. That can help the person that's struggling, the person that needs it most, to be able to actually exercise and enjoy it.
Thank you so much to have shared with us
my pleasure.
your passion, and thank you very much.